friends. I'm doing a little bit of gardening today, just digging over an old potato bed, straightening up some of the borders. Light duty. Soon we'll be saying goodbye to this place, and I'll be sharing more about what I've learned here. I think there's some amazing possible clues to the obfuscation of the history as we understand it. I've got a lot of evidence which I will use to back up a bunch of theories that I have as to what this brick wall, the walled garden is possibly, what it's hiding, and but I guess moreover I just feel like a little bit sad, actually, a tinge of sadness, because I've enjoyed our month here. It's been an opportunity to recharge the batteries and reset things and so on. I know we're a long way from the finished article, but you know, we press on. We must press on and see where the boat is going to take us. Here's an observation in a tire. In a tire world where water can be contained by the tire, then you can imagine a ship floating peacefully across the sometimes choppy waters of the flat oceans, if the water was contained inside of the wheel. If the water wasn't contained inside the wheel, in other words, we took the tire away, we would have to first freeze the body of water so that it retained the sphericity and the shape of this. And we would then sail our ship underneath the body of water like that. And you notice that instead of having a flat, planar, horizontal trajectory, my ship, it never has that now. It's always, I hope you can see this, but it's always following the curvature of the body of water that is now exposed by the removal of the tire and the freezing of the water, to hold the shape in your mind, because in reality we can't do that. So just, to create this hypothetical model in your mind, I need you to think, instead of, as we've all been encouraged to think, putting a flat body of water on the inside of a wheel, or on the top of the wheel, because that's where they normally do it. They'll put it up there and say, there you go, that's your ship going this way. Well, of course, that's the same thing, and we know that that's obviously nowhere near following the true line of the arc of the circle. The arc of the circle is bending always, always, always at the same amount. So for me to kind of hypothetically pick a point and say, right, from here everything is zeroed, and I start again, and I look at how much my ship comes away from not very much. So as you can tell, your curvature is not very much. Well, that's a lie, friends. 8 inches per mile is a lie. It's another deception. And my friends Bob and Jaren were kind enough to have me on their show the other night, but I couldn't convince them that we needed to actually stop saying 8 inches per mile squared, because we can't model that. We can do it mathematically on a piece of paper, obviously, but we can't model it. And I haven't got the answer to the number yet, but the number, my friends, is big. It's not a little 8 inches per mile squared. It's a single amount per distance traveled. It's always going to be the same equation, whether it's 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.6. So Mark of Melbourne sent me a video where he's like taken the hose pipe, vacuum hose, and gone, yeah, look, here's a meter of curve, and if I curve it by 0.6, look at the amount of that curve. Well, that's starting to look like a semicircle, or at least a quarter of a circle. I can't help it that's the maths. It is extreme. It looks extreme. It's like, no, we could not be on such a steep thing. Well, of course we can't be on such a steep thing. That's nonsense. But if we're drawing a model for Disney and NASA to work with, then you know, what are we experiencing? Not a planar experience, it's a spherical experience. So anyway, I mean, I'm looking around for the answer in terms of how to measure that. So if anybody has any thoughts on how we can measure the curvature from the point of view of the ship always retaining the 12 o'clock position, never leaving the surface of the you know, the sphericity, always within the curve. I actually prefer to liken it like taking a rim of a tire. Like, here's one here actually, I'll quickly show you. Taking a rim of a tire and running the object around the inside of the rim, because that's exactly what, that's the nature of the tightness of it. You know, it doesn't get excused and to leave at a sort of notional horizontal. It's always following this very tight circle. And just because the tire is 25,000 miles in circumference doesn't make the ratio of curvature of any less. So it's going to be the same ratio for this tire as it is for the Earth. It's really just the distances involved are so much greater, and that's why it's so hard for people to conceive of. I'm not precious about the 0.6. It really doesn't matter to me whether it's what matters to me is finding out the truth, and the truth is not 8 inches per mile squared, and I won't be propagating it anywhere. I will be saying to people that, you know, even the mathematical model as offered by the mainstream, the Ball Society, is not doesn't really withstand scrutiny. This idea that at each mile marker, for 10 miles or 100 miles or 1,000 miles, everybody is going to report an 8-inch experience of drop or whatever. The captain is going to say it's 8 inches in front of me. The captain of the plane is going to say it's 8 inches. You said from where I am. Well, while I'm standing, it's 8 inches. And I'm standing 100 miles from you, and I'm still demanding that it can only be 8 inches. But you're saying, oh no, it's got to be hundreds of feet now. No, it doesn't. You, the observer, does not have any bearing on the nature of the reality. The nature of the reality is fixed. In this theoretical model, it's fixed at an amount which will not vary depending on who's observing it. It is what it is. Your height from the ground will have an effect on how far you can see, obviously. Anyway, so that's it. I'll just drop this. Oh, and I obviously cut my hair yesterday, so it does look a little bit different. Weird, according to Andrea, and she prefers the other way. Anyway, I'll be back in a few days.